Hi, I'm Tom, amateur radio call sign N8FDY, and today we're going to talk about Fluke meters. This is a summary of all the Fluke meters I've tested. 6 of those 7 meters are on the table today. We have the Fluke 117, the Fluke 177, Fluke 87V, and we have the Fluke 87V Max, we have the Fluke 189, and we have the Fluke 289. The other one we're going to talk about today is not on the table today, which is the 17B Max. I sold that meter because that's the only Fluke meter I really didn't like. And that's the meter that isn't sold in the US, and it's sold in the Asia, India market. And it was funny, of all the multimeters I was trying to sell at the Hamfest, that went first because it had the Fluke name on it. And then I sold one of the triplets, and then I sold the cheapest meter on the table. And that was it. So I got a lot more Hamfest to go before I unload all these meters. Not selling these though. I'm keeping the Flukes. At least these 6. Well, let's show you just a little bit of measurements so you can see how the meters act differently and work today. So, first we'll start out with DC volts. So this is 2.5005 according to Keithley, and 2.500 is good. 2.501 is close. 2.500 and 2.501 is close. 2.5002 is a little low. 2.5004 is just a tiny bit low. So anyway, that gives you an idea of how they're doing on 2.5 volts. Here's 5.0009 according to Keithley. Here's 75016 according to the Keithley. Here's 10.0015 according to the Keithley. So in the volts range, DC volts, the Flukes are very, very similar. It almost seems like were set with the same voltage standard. Of course, I'm sure they were made in different places. Most of them say assembled in the United States, or the older one says made in the United States. But the consistency, this 16-year-old Fluke versus these other ones, which are, as far as I can tell, they're 1 to 2 years old, and they're all very consistent in the voltage. And that's the most important part of the multimeter. Usually is the DC volts. Let's get started with some smaller voltages. We're going to go down to the millivolts, DC. And I forgot to say at the beginning that there is a written version of this summary. And for each one of these meters, and then the meter that isn't here, that 17B Max, there are actually reviews. There are videos, and each video is accompanied by a written review. I may say that some of those reviews are older and some things have changed a little bit. Notably, this 289 over the months has gotten a little more accurate, and I don't know why. Maybe that's because of age. Maybe it's because something I did wrong. But my initial testing, it was a tiny bit, very tiny bit off on a few DC volt ranges. But over the months, I retested it, and now it's now got better. So who knows what that's about. So I have to say that now my opinion of this meter has improved, and now I'm keeping it. Because I know in that original review I wasn't going to keep this one. But I changed my mind. Well, now we're going to try some voltages off of my digital voltage generator that uses a digital to analog converter. And I tweaked it so I send it the right signal to get it as close to the voltage indicated as possible. You can't get it exactly right because you only can adjust it in discrete amounts. So when that discrete amount almost never lands on exactly even voltage looking at the Keithley. Speaking of the Keithley, because I keep mentioning that is the meter I use to judge all the other meters. It is a 6.5 digit bench meter. It's the Keithley DMM 6500. That's what I use to measure all the voltages and currents and resistance and capacitance values and compare it to what these meters read. And you'll see that in the reviews, because I have a written review, and in the tables it'll say source, which is what the value of the Keithley shows. And then, of course, there's the uncertainty value, which is the uncertainty value of the Keithley added to the uncertainty value of each whatever meter's under test. You'll see that all described in the written review, but here we have 2 volts. All the meters say it's 2 volts except the 189, and it has always shown a few 200 microvolts low. Here's a volt and a half. Here's 1 volt. And the contrarian changes his mind a little bit, but he says he keeps flipping between 1 volt and all 9s. So here's a half a volt. And everybody seems to agree it's a half a volt except our bud at the end. He says it's 5001. Now we're going to switch to the millivolts. Now with millivolts, we got a lot of them saying it's 5001. Except for the 289 that says 500.04. The other ones are... It's funny, the 6,000 counts are 500.1 or 500.0. Most of them are 500.1, but the 189 says 500.01. And the 289 says 500.04. So, but it's a little harder for meters to do these smaller voltages, I think, but they're still within specification. So let's see what 250 brings us. Yeah, same kind of little disagreement. The 250.1 on the 117, there's 250.0 on the 177. 250.1 millivolts on the 87s. And 250.01, no, 250.03, 04, so it's kind of jumping back and forth on the 189, and it's 250.04 on the 289. So now at 100, again, same story, 100.1, 100.0, 100.0, 100.1, 100.05, 100.05. Oh. So we got 50.1s. Oh, more agreeing on that. 6,000 count meters, I'll figure it's 50.1. 189 says it's 50.07 or 06, depending on, can't make up his mind. Okay. And then we got 50.06 on the 289. Now we got the 25.1s on the 6,000 count meters. And we got the 25.084, it looks like, and 25.70872. Yeah, on the lower end here, the quantization of the digital analog converter really makes it hard to get these smaller numbers right. So the smaller you get, the worse the accuracy is for trying to generate the voltage you want. So it was an experiment, and it was okay, but it doesn't do any better or worse than when I use one of my signal generators and try to do the same thing. Well, that's basically, they're the same. They're using digital analog converters in those too. Oh, the 6,000 counts are disagreeing a little bit here. Yeah, and it's, I think my voltage generator is a little unstable at 10 millivolts. Well, anyway, you can see what's going on here. And it should get worse down here at 5. And it should be really off at 1. Anyway, there is the tiny voltages. Now we will, we need to do some AC voltage. We will use the DMM check. We will do some AC voltages with the DMM check. Well, we will do one AC voltage with the DMM check. And it will be 5 volts at 100 hertz square wave. Well, here's your 5 volts from the DMM check. Now, all of these, their AC specification is much more lax than their DC. All of these are within spec, but you can see they're kind of all over the place. Now we're going to measure some milliamps. We're starting from the high end and moving down because some of these meters are going to stop reading when we get below a certain point. So I thought I'd start out with what they all can do. This is 99.4 milliamps. Here's 9.98 milliamps. Here's 1.00 milliamps. That's about the lowest the 117 can read. Well, they're all pretty close, and that's a pretty low part of the range. Now we're going to go to microamps, and a couple of these meters are just going to not to be able to do it. So here's 131.8 microamps, and the 117 can't read that low. It's amazing that it read the milliamps on the amp range, but so that guy's out. The 177 only has amps and milliamps, so it's pretty good that he actually, in the milliamp range, can resolve some of the microamps. And of course, the 87s, both of them, can read microamps. Of course, they disagree a little bit, but they're very close. 189 says it's 131. He's kind of can't make up his mind. He says it's 132. But the 289 says it's 131.86. But they're all really close, and they're all within specification. Here's 99.0 microamps. The 117 is out of this race. The 177's hanging in there. He's giving you 0.10, so that would be 100 microamps. Here's 9.21 microamps. The 117 is out. The 177, it's pretty much out of the reading there. This is 0.89 microamps. But again, most meters do their worst on the lowest 5% of the range. All right, so much for the currents. Everything else that you want to see these meters do, they each have their own review. So you can go look at that. Let's compare the voltage and current accuracy specifications for this group of Fluke meters. As you can see, for the voltage specifications, the 289 dominates. But that would make sense. It's the most expensive meter. And Fluke pretty much follows the pattern of the least expensive meter has the less accurate specification. There is an anomaly for the AC plus DC true RMS, where the old 189 has better specification than the 289. When it comes to current, it's a little different. The 87Vs have a little more accuracy specification than the other meters when it comes to DC amps. And when it comes to AC amps, again, the 87Vs beat out everybody else. And the weird thing is that the 189 and 289 have the worst specifications for AC amps. Now let's compare the resistance and capacitance specifications. Well, for resistance, the 189 dominates, at least up until you get to the low mega ohm range, and then the 87V max takes over. And in the capacitance ranges, the two 87Vs dominate for accuracy specification. So it is interesting that the higher end meters are not the best accuracy for everything. Let's get into the third-party safety testing. I had a viewer call me out saying that Fluke tests their own meters and it's not third-party safety tested. Well, in a way he's right, but in a way he's not. Fluke does test their own meters, but their testing lab is CSA accredited. and audited. So it is a CSA testing lab that Fluke runs. So yeah, they do their own testing, but they do it according to the CSA rules, regulations, specifications, and auditing. So if you look at this article on the Fluke website, it explains how their testing lab works and how they're accredited. And the big takeaway is, to quote the article, the Fluke Product Compliance Laboratory is accredited through CSA to test and certify products for their certification mark. They also say that the Fluke Lab is regularly audited to ensure that testing meets the requirements imposed by the national and international authorities and standards. So I am using the word third-party safety tested because I use it for all the meters who have CSA marks or ETL marks or UL marks, because that's what those marks mean. And the fact that Fluke runs their own lab, to me, doesn't really make a difference. It's still accredited and run under a third-party group. Well, we're going to run down the models of these meters. First, we're going to start out with the Fluke 17B Max. You can get it on eBay for $159.99. Its features, it's CSA listed, it's Cat 3 600 volts, it's a 6,000 count meter for voltage, 5,000 count for frequency, and 4,000 for everything else. It has a basic DC accuracy of 0.5% plus 3. It has a min-max function, a relative delta function, a hold function, auto-off override, backlight auto-off override, K-type thermocouple, and it comes with 2 AA batteries. The good parts of this meter, well, it's the cheapest Fluke meter you can buy. It is third-party safety tested, and I use that as I explained earlier what that means. In Fluke's case, they own their own lab, but it's run just like a CSA lab. Its DC and AC voltage range accuracy specifications are okay, and its resistance accuracy specifications are okay. And I like it that you can override the auto power off and the auto backlight off. Now the bad parts of this meter is a lot of these ranges have low accuracy specifications, and some of them actually don't even meet their accuracy specifications. Of course, this is a meter that comes with a non-English manual because it's not meant for the U.S. market. The other thing is it's not available in the U.S. except through gray market. Now, gray market is people from other countries bring it into the U.S. without the sanction or approval of Fluke, and then they go sell them on eBay or whatever else they could sell it on. The other bad part is you have to totally disassemble the meter to change the fuses. I don't recommend this meter. Here's what I think you should get instead. You should look at the EEV blog Bryman BM235. Amazon sells it for $150. You could also get it cheaper if you buy it direct from Australia. If you want to go through that operation, it only took about 5 days to get here when I ordered a direct meter that way. It's a good compromise of price and performance. The other meter is the Greenlee DM510A, which is a rebranded Bryman meter. I think it's a little older design than the EV blog one, but it's still pretty good. It's a good balance of price and performance, and whatever country Greenlee sells it in, I believe they supply a lifetime limited warranty. So that's pretty good. I would recommend you read their manual, though, because I'm not a lawyer. I can't interpret it, but it may not be what you think it means. The Fluke 117, and the cheapest I've found it so far is at Amazon for $235.87. This is primarily geared towards a electrician, according to the Fluke marketing. So that could explain why some of the functions it has and some of the things that it doesn't have. Well, let's go over the features. It is third-party safety tested by CSA. It's a Cat 3 600 volts. It's a 6,000 count meter with true RMS, and it has a 0.5% plus 2 DC accuracy. It's got a 33 segment bar graph. Its battery life is claimed to be 400 hours. It's IP42 rated. It has volt alert for non-contact AC voltage detection. It has auto volt for automatically determine AC or DC. It has one 9-volt battery, and it has the 3-year warranty. Well, some of the good parts of this meter is CSA tested. Most of the readings taken met the accuracy specification as stated in the manual. You can disable the auto backlight off function. The lowest amp range has a 1 milliamp resolution, so you can accurately measure 10 milliamps and higher. Now, some of the bad parts of this meter. There's no milliamps or microamp ranges, which I think they're very important for electronic projects. The 1 millivolt AC reading shows up as 0, so it's not really good for the really low end of the millivolt range. It had no better accuracy specifications than lower cost meters that you can get from other places. It doesn't have the Fluke full lifetime warranty. It's only got a 3-year warranty, so that's a downside because you're spending extra money and you're not getting the special warranty. I don't recommend this meter for electronic projects. If you want such a meter, if you can spend the money for this meter, you may want to look at other meters. I would suggest you look at the EV Blog 121GW. It may be the lowest accuracy specified meter in the 50,000 count range, but it sure is very accurate if you compare it to 6,000 count meters. So, and it has lots of unique functions. The setup function is extensive. It has the SD card inside that you can log to. And it has the unique way to measure voltage and current at the same time. So those are all very unusual things that might make the 121GW worth looking into. Of course, you could always get the Bryman BM869S, which is the most accurately specified meter that I've tested for handheld meters. Or you get the Bryman 789, which is a little less accurate, but it's has some nice features, and it's a smaller, lighter meter. You could also get the Bryman BM525S if you want more logging features. It's a little less accurate, though. And then there's the Bryman EV Blog 786, which is a pretty good price. And it's has good accuracy and lots of features, so that would be another really good meter to look into. And then if for the kind of rock bottom price of still having some good accuracy meter, you could get the Unity UT161E. So anyway, there's lots of alternatives. If you have $230 to spend on a meter, there's lots of good meters to choose from. If you want to get a good Fluke meter, you're just going to have to spend more money. Now we come to the Fluke 177. The lowest I could find it was at tequipment.com for $382.76. Some of the features of this meter: it's CSA listed, it's Category 3 1000 volts, Category 4 600 volts, 6,000 count meter. It has a DC accuracy of 0.09% plus 2. It's true RMS. It has a 31 segment bar graph. It has a min-max average function. It has a hold function. Has a auto hold function. The 179 model can do a K-type thermocouple. It has an auto off override, a backlight auto off override. It has a disable beeper function, a smoothing mode, a 9-volt battery is included, and it has the Fluke limited lifetime warranty. The good parts of this meter: of course, it's CSA safety tested. The DC millivolt accuracy specification is pretty good for the 6,000 count meters, along with the DC accuracy specification was really good for this 6,000 count meter group, and it has the Fluke lifetime warranty. The not so good parts of this meter: there's no microamp range, and I think you need that for electronic projects. There's no relative or delta function, and again, I think you need that for resistance measurements and for capacitance measurements. The capacitance reading below 10 nanofarads was not very meaningful, but again, this was my early testing, and I discovered that almost no multimeter can handle much below 10 nanofarads very accurately. The high capacitance values had lower specifications than average. The battery door is secured with a self-tapping screw into plastic, and that is a recipe for disaster. So that was pretty disappointing. And you must disassemble the whole meter to change the fuses. So I really don't recommend this meter. You should definitely skip it. What I do recommend, again, if you have that much money to spend, you might want to spend it on the EV block Bryman, the BM235, or you might want to spend it on the Greenlee, the DM510A, and or you might want to save a little more and step up to the 87V, which I think is probably the cheapest Fluke meter that's targeted for electronic projects. Now we come to the Fluke 85V, sometimes known as the 85-5. And the lowest I've seen it at recently is at globaltestsupply.com for $433.25. And now we come to the features of this meter. It's CSA listed. It's Cat 3 1000 volts, Cat 4 600 volts. It's a 6,000 count meter. It also has a 20,000 count mode that doesn't work on all the ranges, just a few. The 20,000 count mode has more resolution but no more accuracy. It has a basic DC accuracy of 0.05% plus 1, which is really good for a 6,000 count meter. It's true RMS, has a 32 segment bar graph. It has a min-max average mode. It has a peak min-max mode. Has auto hold. Has a low pass filter. Has a K-type thermocouple. It can do auto off override. You can disable the beeper. You can activate a smoothing mode. You can enable a zoom mode for the bar graph. You can put the millivolt range, DC range, into high impedance mode. and it has a 9-volt battery included, and it has the limited lifetime warranty from Fluke. The pros of this meter, of course, are it's CSA listed, has very good accuracy specifications in most of the ranges, and all the tests I made met the accuracy specifications. Had lots of ranges that had really good accuracy. It had a very high diode test voltage for this group of meters. And of course it has a limited lifetime warranty. Some of the downside of this meter, it only had average accuracy specification for the 600 kiloohm and the 6 megaohm ranges, which is really strange considering how good all the other ranges were. And you have to disassemble the meter to change the fuses. Well, as much as I like this meter, I don't really recommend it, because if you can find the 87V Max for $487, which I did today at Test Equipment Depot, it's really worth getting the extra $55 to get the IP67 and the longer battery life. Now we come to the Fluke 87V Max, or the 87-5 Max, as some people call it. And I've seen it at theequipmentdepot.com for $487.95. Features of this meter are pretty much identical to the 87V, with the addition of IP67, which makes it dust and water resistant, and it uses 3 AA batteries instead of the 9-volt, which gives it a longer battery life. Some of the pros of this meter: of course, it's CSA listed. It's IP67, which is dust and water resistant. And again, all of its ranges had very good accuracy specifications for the 6,000 count meters. And the couple of resistance ranges that the 87V had that weren't that good, this one, it's better. So they fixed those. And they also added a auto backlight shutoff override. Some of the bad parts of this meter: again, the capacitance reading below 1 nanofarad, but of course, as I later discovered as I tested more and more meters, almost none of them do very good at the low capacitance range. It's heavier and bulkier than any of the 6,000 count meters. It's also the most expensive of any of the 6,000 count meters. I do recommend this meter. I have one, and I use it, and I like it. And if I was to do all this over again, and with what I know now, then this is the 6,000 count meter I would buy. Now we come to the Fluke 189. I bought this at HRS Equipment Outlet on eBay for $650. Some of the features of this meter: it is UL and CSA third-party safety tested. I don't know what that really means, but this is a pretty old meter. It's Category 3, 1000 volt, Category 4, 600 volts. It's true RMS with 100 kilohertz bandwidth. It's 0.025%, plus or minus 10 basic DC accuracy. It has a large display with a dual parameter readout. It has built-in data logger with time of day. It has stored readings you can view on the meter. It has a min-max and time with timestamp function. It has a peak capture of transients as short as 250 microseconds. It has a relative mode, and it has an isolated IR communications port, which you could attach a USB adapter or a Bluetooth adapter. The pros of this meter. This meter is at least 16 years old, and all the measurements taken met the accuracy specifications. You don't have to turn the meter off to get to the setup functions. It has almost as much customization as the EV Blog 121GW. The bad parts of this meter. It was discontinued around 2008, so you can only get it as used or new old stock. I was lucky enough to find it as new old stock, but it was open box. And the PC interface and the Bluetooth interface all are extra cost options. I don't recommend this meter. I mean, obviously it's not made anymore, and I really like the meter. And if you're a meter collector and you really love Fluke and you really want one, go for it. But I've seen it go for as much as $800 and as little as about maybe $500, but the thing was really beat up. So I was really lucky to get the one I got. But definitely, if you want this class of meter, you should go with the modern Fluke 289. If you don't want Flukes, which some people might not, or they want to save some money and still get a graphic meter, they would go with the UT 181A. Of course, this 189 is not a graphic meter, but its follow-on, which was the 289, is. You could also go with the EV Blog 121GW. It's nice and small. You could also go with the Bryman BM 869S if you want the highest accuracy specified little portable handheld meter. Or you can go with the BM 789 from Bryman if you want. It's a little less accurate specified, but it's smaller and a little easier to carry around, and it's a 60,000 count meter. Or you could go with the EV Blog, the BM 786, which is pretty much mostly a 789 with a couple little features missing, but it's definitely saved some money on that one. Now we come to the Fluke 289. This was the cheapest that I could find recently was at testequipmentdepot.com for $725.95. That's for the base unit. Some of the features of this: it's CSA third-party tested. It's a 50,000 count meter with a quarter VGA dot matrix display. It's 15,000 event memory. It has a 50 ohm low range on the it's got a true RMS with 100 kilohertz bandwidth. It has AC plus DC true RMS. Has a low pass filter. It can measure dBm and dBV. It measures up to 500 mega ohm resistors. Has a real-time clock. Has a USB PC interface and a Bluetooth mobile interface, which are extra cost options. And it comes with the Fluke limited lifetime warranty. Some of the pros of this meter. Of course, it's third-party safety tested by CSA. It has the best accuracy specifications in the tested group of 50,000 count meters for high DC volts, AC plus DC RMS, and DC current, low kiloohms, low megaohms, and high microfarad ranges. Now I'll point out that the AC plus DC, I made this statement before I knew about the 189, and ironically the 189 has better specifications than the 289, but I didn't know that at the time. But I really shouldn't count it because you really can't buy that easily. It has easy access to changing fuses, and it has the Fluke lifetime warranty. All right, some of the bad things of this meter. It had the worst accuracy specification I tested in the group of 5,000 count meters for high mega ohms. The 6 AA batteries only provide 100 hours of operation. I do recommend this meter. This is a modification from my original review, but like I said, this meter has improved over time, and now I'm very satisfied with it. I hope this summary of all the Flukes I have helped you out. If you're a Fluke fan and you're thinking of which one to buy, this will give you a little idea. I think I'm set. I'm not buying any more Fluke meters. I sold the one I didn't like, which was the 17B Max. And I can see why they don't sell it in the U.S., because it definitely just doesn't fit into their scheme of things. Now, I know some people don't like the price of Flukes, but if you're one of those people, you're probably not even watching this, so that's okay. I review lots of other meters besides Flukes, and there's lots of other good meters, you know. But I like them. I think because probably my first official work meter was a Fluke, and handheld meter. I worked, that was when I was in IT. When I worked in electronics, we didn't have digital multimeters back then. We had Simpson and triplet. The triplet meters, each guy had one on his bench, and we shared a Simpson mirrored scale meter if we needed something more accurate. And that's all we knew about meters. And we had one oscilloscope that everybody had to share. And it was an old Tektronix on a cart, a tube one. But that was, you know, that was back in the 70s. But that meter I got for my IT stuff that I was doing, that sucker just ran and ran and ran and ran. And I didn't pay attention to it, didn't treat it special or nice or anything. Just threw it around with all the other tools all the time, and I never had a problem with it. And even though it used a 9-volt battery, it seemed to last forever and didn't have to change them very often. But anyway, that's my bias. But I try to be open about any meter. And I'm, like I said, I'm opening up about the non-third-party safety ones. That's what I'm doing. You're going to get 2 more videos that are... no, you're getting 1 more video that's going to be the summary of the 20,000 count third-party safety meters. It's only 4 of them I've tested. After that, we're going into non-third-party safety tested meters. And surprise, surprise, the first one of that is going to be the, what's it called? Hioki. Believe it or not, I found a Hioki at a good discount. I think it's gray market, but I don't care. I don't recommend you buy gray market, but because if it's your only meter, you really want support. And Hioki has a U.S. site where they sell their meters, and you can also get them from tequipment.com. Those are the only 2 places I've found them that are, you know, U.S. supported meters. But they cost a lot of money for their 50,000 count meter. But I found one on gray market cheaper, and I figured, I've had a couple of guys, more than a couple of guys, keep commenting, why don't you test Hioki meters? Why don't you look at Hioki meters? So I did. And spoiler alert, I kind of liked it. You know, I don't like that it's not safety tested, but, you know, Japan, maybe in their country, that's not a big deal. And maybe you know, so you got to accept their customs. They have different opinions on things, and it might not be a big deal in Japan. But the meter is definitely unique and has some interesting features. So I look forward to, I'm working on that video after this one. So I will bring that to you. I'll probably say in a couple of weeks, and then something's going to happen. I won't be able to do it for a month. But anyway, I hope you like this, Fluke fans, and hope you keep watching. Well, since I'm giving you spoilers of what's coming up, I'm going to review this guy. I don't know if you... This is Regal's new arbitrary waveform generator. The gimmick is, look at how small it is. And it actually runs on USB power, so you can run it off a power bank if you want. And I'm going to put it up against the Siglant I own that is about the same thing, but much bigger. And so that's going to be coming up. So I'm going to break out of doing meter reviews. Now, I'm not going to be able to do reviews that are that complicated because I'm no expert in arbitrary waveform generators, and I only have 3 of them. So, and, you know, I don't really have the equipment to measure the stuff because I don't have something like the equivalent of the Keithley in arbitrary waveform generators. So it's more going to be like a user experience review. It's not going to really be a technical review. But anyway, you're going to see this compared to the Siglant, what I consider is the equivalent. The Siglant is cheaper because you can't buy, well, you could, but I wouldn't buy the 25 megahertz version of this because for ham radio, you want to go up to 30 megahertz. Because you want to do at least HF for your projects. You're going to build a HF receiver, you're going to build an HF transmitter, and you say, well, how would this help a transmitter? Well, let's say you build the amplifier part first. Well, you need a signal source to try it out, because I build my stuff in modules so I can test it. So maybe you haven't figured out how you're going to do the signal generator part of the transmitter, so use this as a substitute. And you want to be able to go up to 30 megahertz. So this goes, the Siglant makes their lowest end one go up to 30, but this one, the low end one, goes up to 25, so you have to move up to this higher end one, which raises the cost a little bit. But I still think this is a $500 signal generator. And but we'll make a video about it, talk about it, and then we'll make a video comparing it to the Siglant, and we'll make a video about the Siglant. So you can see kind of what I consider entry-level signal generators for ham radio projects. It's just so tiny. I mean, you can run it off of a power bank. That's you have to give Rigel credit. They come up with some innovative ideas. I admit I'm a Siglant fanboy, but Regal is coming up with some interesting stuff. And another spoiler alert, I bought the tiny Regal oscilloscope like this, same form factor. And I bought the newest Siglant entry-level 12-bit oscilloscope. And the Regal's little guy like this is also 12-bit. So I'm going to be reviewing those. Again, I'm not going to do technical reviews because I'm not really qualified to technically review a oscilloscope because there's still lots of stuff about oscilloscopes I'm not really well versed on. But I can certainly give you a user review and show you the differences of how they work and that. But anyway, it might be helpful. You know, I'm done buying meters, so the meter reviews are going to come to an end pretty soon. As soon as I get my last batch of, under $100 meters reviewed. And then sooner or later, we're going to start doing projects instead of reviews. Because I got to stop buying stuff sooner or later. Going to run out of money. But But the reason I buy it myself is I don't want to be biased by any company giving me stuff, because how could you badmouth a company that gives you stuff? You know, that's pretty hard to do. So I buy it myself, so that way I can badmouth it if I want to. You know, I usually don't, but, you know, you want to be able to tell people, like when this thing was coming up with its, the first test I did of this, it came up with 5 places it was out of spec. So I told you it was out of spec. Now, 3 months later, it's in spec. Did I screw up? Who knows? Could he? Did it improve with age? Maybe. But I'm going to tell you like it is, because nobody gave me this. I bought it myself. Anyway. So, I'm in a rambling mood today. So anyway, thanks for watching. This has been Tom, N8FDY, 73, and take it easy.